All right, today we've got Mr. Duane Wagner on the podcast, and I wanted to have Duane on the show because one, he and I go way, way back, even to the beginnings of, I guess, really my start, Marine Corps, whatever, where we first met. But recently, and Duane and I have grown together in a lot of ways over the last 20 plus years. But recently, Duane's really kind of taken on a challenge to getting up early, and it's something that I wanted to have him on the show because he and I have talked about this, and he's really kind of broken through that. So he's got an awesome story to tell, bunch to gain there. But I know it's an area that I find myself talking to a lot of people about. So something I want to jump into. But with that, I'll let Duane, welcome to the show. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey man, good to be here. Yeah, hey, Duane Wagner, live in Houston area, currently in the real estate field. But like you mentioned, you and I kind of running around in the Marine Corps together, and obviously in the IT space together for almost 20 years. So yeah, it's pretty simple, man. Good to be here though. This is awesome.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. So we could go in a million different directions, but let's start at the top with you read the book, The 5 a.m. Club. I think even you called me one day, and I even turned it into a training. You called me and were like, dude, what do I got to do to get up? And I just kind of like hip pocketed something, and then after we hang up, I go, man, I need to write this shit down and go because it's something. So I actually turned that into a training video that's out in the Lions Guide members area because it was like, again, I record these videos around things that I find myself like just saying over and over again. So some of this selfishly, I want to be able to go, hey, okay, you want to get up earlier, go out in the members area, and there's everything you need to know on that. Like just to kind of like scale some of these conversations I have over and over. So I owe you a thanks for that because it kind of pushed me to kind of get one of the first ones done, and wrapped up. But so tell me about so tell me what was going on. What was life like? You were, I don't know, where were you at? What made you kind of make this transition to start getting up earlier?
Yeah, man. I mean, listen, this is for me, it's almost a 20-year battle. Back in the Marine Corps days, we were forced to do it, right? You had to get up in PT, you had to get up and, you know, uh, muster call for whatever. I mean, whatever it was, like you had to get up, and if you didn't get up, you were in trouble. So, fast forward out of the Marine Corps, and then life happens, man. You have kids, you have ever increasingly long days. And like I said, life just happens. And, I quickly got out of that early AM model, like I said, for dozens of years. So, for me, now I've actually tried the 5 a.m. club method many, many, many times. So, and you and I have talked about it, quite a few times in itself. And, I felt like I always come back to you, for advice or lessons learned or whatever. God, many times going, I failed again. What am I doing wrong? I failed again. What am I doing wrong? Um, so what it boiled down to me was, I got an 18-year-old son that's himself getting ready to leave for the Marine Corps actually on Sunday. So as he's getting older, as my younger son who's 9 is progressing through his school, I'm running 2 businesses now. Other investing stuff kind of on the side. So kind of 3 different businesses I'm trying to run at the same time. Plus I'm trying to run a brand new marriage. I inherited 3 kids by way of marriage. So we got 5 kids between us. Like I said, 5 kids, 3 businesses, a new wife. I got a million things going on. So what for me hit me was, probably 6 months ago, like it just dawned on me. I had to do something different because there quite literally was not enough time in the day to do what I wanted to do to feel accomplished for that given day. And I started over, and I think I called you back then going, man, I have got to do this. What's my problem? And I'm gonna laugh and give away some of my secret here, but you laughed at me and said, man, you got to get some discipline back in your body. And it was then that the alarm kind of went off in my head going, God, I hate to say it, but he's right. He's right. Like I've lost all that. So, um, at that point I was reading a couple books that were very inspiring. And I was like, you know what, these books inspire me. Let me see if I can find something. So I did find that 5 a.m. book, and I read it. And I tell you what, it's a mostly a fable. And as I got through it, it just dawned on me that, man, this isn't hard. You're making it way harder than it needs to be. And so I literally flipped the switch one day and said, this is my new life. And I'll tell you what, uh, the last, I think I've been doing it now for just over 3 months or so. Um, am I tired in the evenings? Of course, right? Who isn't? We're getting up at 4:30 every morning, but I tell you what, every day I go to sleep, lay my head on that pillow, I feel like I've accomplished what I intended to get accomplished that day. So I feel great.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess what changed, right? So you talked about, in the Marine Corps, you had to, you were made to get up, and then, so what was it now? Was it newfound necessity, basically, that kind of it's like, hey, I got to make some changes and start getting up early?
Well, again, I kind of hit on it. Like, I felt like I was going to bed stressing out, or, my mind's going 1,000 miles an hour on things I had to get done. I'll call it unorganized chaos. And that's a guy that, I'm a planner. Like, I plan everything I do. Okay. I sit down, probably, I know you and I've talked about this 1,000 times. I know you sit down every weekend and plan out your week. I'm probably not nearly as good at that as you are, but I definitely do a few days in advance. So every night I kind of refresh my schedule for the next few days, type of approach. And, it works for me. But I was doing that and still felt unorganized and chaotic throughout the day because, again, stuff happens. I get a call from a tenant, and you know, uh, figuratively, the house is burning down. Well, that just throws your day for a loop, and then you don't get your reading done, or you were about to step off for a 4 mile run, and you got that phone call, so now your run's trashed, and it was just trying to do those types of things during the quote unquote common work day when everyone else is awake was just trashing my routines. The stuff that I knew I needed for mental health, for physical health, they were just getting trashed. So, you know, again, 6 months ago when I started to have this realization, I was just like, man, I got to do something different. Like, I'm the only one that can fix this. And searching for those solutions, it just quickly came to I got to do those things when other people aren't, at work, quote unquote, or whatever, which translated to me into I got to do it while they're asleep.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's in getting up 4 or 5 o'clock. Number one, you'll hear some of like the most successful people in the world. If you ever hop on YouTube and you hear like The Rock or these other guys, you go, "How the heck does this dude get all this stuff done?" And he'll say, "Man, I get up 4 a.m. every day, always have." And now I think some of these guys like don't get enough sleep, So I'm not sitting here like, "Hey, man, go to bed at midnight and get up at 4." Because I'm going to tell you, I can't do that. So, like,
Yeah,
what
I can't
time are
do
you
that.
going to bed? What? I mean, what's your routine?
I mean, routine wise, I'm fairly strict. I mean, again, because 3 months or so in, I still consider myself a rookie at this internally, right? So I'm still trying to figure out exactly what works for me. So by way of example, I still play men's league softball on Wednesday nights and Sunday mornings, but on Wednesday nights, the games are usually pretty late. So if I get home by 9:30, cleaned up, 10:30 in bed, asleep by 11, well, that's 2 hours off my normal sleep. I'm usually in bed by 9 to answer your original question. That's 2 hours off my normal schedule. And I love playing baseball. I love playing softball. So I really don't want to give that stuff up. I enjoy that.
Mhm.
Um, so, to me, kind of to your point, I can't get up at 4:30 on Thursday mornings. I would be not only trash for Thursday, but probably for Friday too. So, I just try to play it smart. If I'm in bed, because sometimes the games are a little earlier than others. You know what? So if I'm 2 hours behind, I wake up 2 hours behind. And yes, that kind of tweaks my morning, when people are sleeping routine. But what I have found is I'd rather have 5 or 6 days of that as opposed to trying to cram it in and cram it down my own throat and then, ruin a couple of days.
Yeah, I mean that's 100%. It feels like you know, and it's been great. And number one, I'll circle back to something you said. Like, if you're looking at your week, and it sounds like you're kind of doing like a rolling week. So every few days you're looking
Yeah.
at that, which is cool. I haven't really thought of that. For me, I kind of have a end of week. I call it my week close routine. So I close out my week. I print out my calendar for the next week. I get my schedule all straight, and then like I'll see that. Like, if I were to use your example, I would see, okay, Thursday night I'm going to be late. I know I'm not getting home until 10 o'clock. It means I'm not really probably going to get to sleep till 11. Okay, let's look at Friday morning. Okay, yep, Friday morning, I'm not getting up till 7, because I want that full 7 hours of sleep or whatever the case may be. And that's typical. Actually, say like my weekends, I'll do that. Like, I try not to go all prohibitive on my family and, social life, and you'll be in bed by 9 on Saturdays. We have friends, we have a life, and you know, so that's what typically happens. But I still get up. Like, I was talking the other day to someone and said, look, don't just sleep in. Like, don't just sleep in on Sunday. I'll still set an alarm. My sleep is 7 hours. Like, I want to get 7 hours of sleep. That's what I've found to be ideal for me. So if I'm going to bed at 11, I'm setting my alarm for 6. So the routine, the habit of getting up when that alarm goes off is still happening 7 days a week, even though I'm still getting my 7 hours, and I'm not getting up at 4 a.m. on Sunday, but I am still going through the practice of hearing my alarm, getting up, brushing my teeth, drinking my water, doing all those things that I do to
Yep.
get started.
So I have one cheat day, if you will, Sunday. You're gonna laugh at me, but Sunday I allow myself a cheat day. I will allow myself to snooze one time on Sundays only. And I know that sounds stupid and funny, and you're probably gonna laugh at me, but for some reason that 9 minutes feels like an eternity.
Right. Right.
So,
No,
but
yeah.
yeah.
So, no, but and the other thing that you mentioned, just the value that you get out of these early hours, man. I mean, it's the truth that you can probably get more done. Or so, what time are you getting up now? Are you 5 a.m., 4:30? What are you doing?
So my alarm is at 4:30. So what that allows me to do, my actual detailed morning routine then would be alarm at 4:30. And like you said, man, I think you actually gave me that suggestion. So I put my alarm. I have the whole iPhone and watch combo charging unit, whatever. And I used to have it at my bedside. And man, you reach over in a daze and you snooze that thing. So I actually moved that into my bathroom, which my wife hates because it looks really gaudy and out of place in there. Because I just got lazy and just moved it in there just so I could start getting up. But my alarm goes off 4:30. I'm up. My first thing I do is I knock out a max set of push-ups right away. And that just gets my blood pumping, gets me moving. Right behind that is cold water in the face. I'll sit there for a minute or two and splash cold water on my face, brush my teeth, and then I'm back down for another max set of push-ups. So for one thing, I do a push-up challenge with a group of people that I kind of loosely. I don't work out with them. I work out virtually with them, if you will. So we have a push-up challenge, and right now our challenge is 100 push-ups a day, right? So for starters, I knock my 100 push-ups out before they even thought about waking up, right? So I'm and I'll get into the tech stuff. So I don't text right away. I stay off my electronics in the beginning, but by the time they're waking up, I'm texting them going, 100 done, you're up, right? But after that, I've got my workout clothes set out. Now, my routine is a little different. So for some reason, and this is just a me thing, and it's probably just being weird, but I cannot work out like right away. I have to really let my body wake up. So what I do, what works for me, so after I get up, the push-ups, the teeth, the getting dressed, my workout clothes are set out. I'll get dressed and I go straight to my office. And from about 4:45 to about 5:45 is book hour. I will read a book for an hour, almost to a T, just get my mental sweat on, if you will. And by that time, it's time for my workout. So my workouts change, but I like to run probably 3 times a week, 4 miles or so, usually 4 to 6 miles, usually never less than four. But I got gym days every now and again. I'll sprinkle in. I have something called a journal day. Here lately, I've been doing Fridays, just because I'm tired. But I'll sit down and journal for a few minutes. I've got letters to my kids. I got a letter to my wife that they don't even know about them. I just kind of write every day, kind of just brain dump thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
to them as if I'm talking to them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I break that up every few minutes with push-ups. So my Friday, like this past Friday, I think I did 300 or 400 push-ups in an hour, and I was exhausted. But in between push-ups, you're journaling, so it was I felt really cool that day. I've done it twice now. From a push-up standpoint, you're exhausted, and from a journaling standpoint, like you get some good time to write to your kids for something they may read in 10 years or 20 or never. Who knows? But and that's
Sure.
it. So
But how
after
does that
that,
make you feel getting it done?
oh
Like,
my God,
so
I
you're
mean,
journaling it just because I hit on that. Cause I think that's something that like people don't do anymore. It's something I encourage clients and do myself.
yeah.
Yeah, again, I often joke when I talk about some of the things I'm doing today and I go, man, if the 20-year-old version of me like saw like some of the stuff I do now, whether it's meditation or even the days I squeeze in yoga and all that stuff, like the young piss and vinegar version of me would be like, dude, what are you doing?
Oh,
But
I know what he'd tell you. He'd tell you
however,
you're crazy.
you know,
He'd tell you you're crazy.
but journaling's one of them. So you do some journaling, so
Yeah.
it's worth hitting on that. Like, what does that do for you, right?
So, for me, like as you know, like I don't have a great memory, right? So all the studying I do, like I have to take copious notes on every book I read, or if I'm studying something, real estate exam or whatever, it doesn't matter, man. If I don't write it down, or I've got these little clear. They're basically tape. You can kind of see through them, but they're for like books. I put them in there as bookmarkers almost for things that I want to be able to go back and reference quickly. Like if I'm not doing that stuff, I tend to forget pretty quickly. As it pertains to journaling, I'll come up with an idea, at 5 o'clock in the morning about something I want to tell my son or whatever, and so by journaling that in, um, it's almost like it reinforces it in my brain that I gotta have that conversation, or I need to do whatever. And then again, to me, it's cool. Like I said, I don't know what I want to do with it yet, but and I only journal to my kids or to my wife. That's it. My two kids and her, and 5 years, 10 years, maybe we print that and binder it, and just kind of be cool. My kids will be reading that in 30 years, going, "Man, this is what my dad was thinking in 2021," right? Like,
Yeah,
I think that would just kind of be cool to have. And like I said, my son goes off to the Marine Corps later or early next week, so I'll probably start doing it to him a lot more because I won't be able to have those conversations. So, for me, it's more. I still feel like I'm communicating. Like I said, my youngest is 9, so he doesn't get half the lessons I want to teach him. He doesn't get that now. So, maybe one day he'll
sure,
read that
yeah, yeah.
stuff and he'll know. Um, yeah,
Well, I
so
think
that's why
yeah,
I
because
do it.
I often look back and yeah, and I can look back sometimes and I go, man, because a lot of the men that are in my family, let's say, like, especially like grandfathers, they died when I was young, but I look
Yeah.
back and they ran businesses, they ran farms, like,
Wouldn't you
whatever.
love to
And I
know the
kind of
details
go,
of that story?
yeah, like what were they thinking? Like,
Yeah.
or whatever. Like you don't like, and not say I'm envious or of the folks that like could still go tap in their grandfather and go, hey, pop up, what the heck is going on with what would you have done when you were 40 to be better off now? Like,
Yeah.
but like what you're doing, that would be awesome to kind of it is awesome. And they will have that as a gift, to kind of leave your legacy in writing that they can just kind of relate to you, when they're 50 years old, they got this just memoir of just kind of stuff that you're going through, whatever, so I think
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Well, and call it what it is, man. There's going to be some lessons of hey, you need to do this, and there's probably going to be some lessons in there of hey, man, I made this mistake. Don't do this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah, no, and I think another like value of just that. I mean, for me, like I like you, like I get up now. One of the things now, so in my house, Jody has like drank this Kool-Aid of the benefit of getting up early. So at least the last year, I'd say, I would guess, is that she gets up at 4 a.m. with me, and we actually spend the first hour of the day like having coffee together and catching up, and that's our quality time. I guess it's not our only quality time, but it's certainly, you've read the compound effect, right? Like, the
Oh
more
yeah.
you do those little things. So we've got, planned quality time together, at least an hour every day. So to your point, like the day starts, the world takes over, the world of distractions take over, and
Yeah.
stresses and other people's priorities like start coming at you, and you don't have time. And the, the things that suffer are the things that you can put off, right? Like having coffee with the wife, or whatever. Like if you had a tenant who,
Yeah.
like, you had a dinner date and you had some emergency at a property that you had to, for whatever reason, had to deal with. Well, you're not going to not go deal with it because you had dinner planned, with Norma. You're going to have to go deal with it. It's your business.
Yeah.
So, for us, like we've just got this automatic quality time, because certainly, like, in business, like just, running the company, it was always something, right? Like we were putting in the 60 to 80 hours a week. So there was always something that inevitably, took away from those things. So now we've got that. But then I read, but then I also have an hour of thought, what I call my thought development time, where I'm either journaling or I'm working on something or whatever. But
Well, you're allowed to think in your own
yeah, that's it.
space.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
what I was trying to get to. Like the demands of the day don't give you time to think. You just, if you just wake up at your time of last resort, let's say, like you got to get up now, because if you don't get up now, you're going to be late for work or late for whatever you're going to do. Now you're boom straight into the chaos of the day, and it's all the way through to the end. And
Yeah.
if you never had that time to just quiet time for your brain to work, and just like your journaling, it's pulling stuff out of your head, and I don't know, you just don't
Well,
get it otherwise.
I'll give you a quick example of how that is unhealthy. So back in the IT days, as I mentioned before, I live in Houston, right? So I'm on Central Time, so I'm an hour behind East Coast. Um, having clients in New York City or Florida or whatever, an hour ahead of me, by the time I got my kids up and dressed for school, those guys are already an hour into work, right? So I was quite literally, I don't know, be conservative and say 3 days a week, I was starting my day like awaking to some kind of an emergency, right? And
Mm-hmm.
in hindsight, I look back at that stuff and go, man, that was so easily fixable. Because I think it's like a fire in your house. Not that I've even experienced that myself, but like if you wake up to a fire alarm blaring, or even you know your kid opens a door and your alarm's set and the alarm goes off. Like if you wake out of a dead sleep to something like that, at least me, I'm a little agitated, right? So waking up 3 days a week, work
Yeah.
days to something like that, like man, I look back now going, God, you were miserable, and it sucks so bad, and knowing what I know now, I want to smack myself in the face back then, going, dude, all you had to do was implement the 5 a.m. club early, get up, do your run, have your read time, let your body wake up, and then as those emergencies arose, I'm sure I would have handled them differently instead of just being, upset that I woke up to an emergency.
Yeah, look, as far as mindset, so we talked about you journaling, so you're like bringing some clarity in your life, so you have time to think, right? But another benefit is you start the day winning, right? Like
Yeah,
I've
absolutely.
already started the day. I've had time with my wife. I have done training or read a book or done something. I have worked on a project or put thought into my next project or some piece of work I'm working on. I've got my workout in. Like I've gotten all these things done, like you said, before anyone else has even gotten up yet. And I'm just walking into it with a smile, like, hey, man, I'm ready. Like I'm already winning. Like uh, just
Well,
it's a
it's
great
almost
feeling.
as if, yeah, it's almost as if you could go back to sleep and you've already accomplished more than everybody else already. So, listen, I know you read him too, and I have as well. But I'll name drop here. I'll be out on my runs, and you know I'll smile and laugh because it's dark outside. I'm in the middle of a 4 mile run or whatever, and all I can hear is David Goggins in the back of my head, beating his chest and screaming and be like, look, you're doing something nobody else is doing. And I'm serious, man. I get out there like King Kong, like beating my chest sometimes. Like it's just it amps me up to know that I'm willing to do so much that most won't even attempt. And it's that in itself motivates me. So, um,
Yeah.
you know, and that's coming from the guy. Like I was that guy, man. I was that guy that always used to say, I don't have time to do insert whatever. I ain't got time to read. I ain't got time to work out. I ain't got time to do this. I was that guy. I was that guy for God, 20
Yeah.
years, you know, and
Right.
you
But
know,
but since you've been doing this, how much have you knocked out book wise and all that stuff?
okay, so uh, again, I'm guesstimating a little bit, but I used to read about a book every 2 months. And I consider myself a reader, right? I'd read about a book every 2 months, so 6 books a year. Put it in perspective, in April, I read 4 books, and it's the 11th of May right now as we record this. I'm in the middle of my second book already. So,
Right.
that's a whole nother round of benefits, right? Like, I used to feel uneducated about whatever topic. So now it's like, hey, man, if I feel uneducated, where's a book? Let me go out and read something. And yeah, that doesn't mean you're going to get fully educated on it, but at least you're going to have some information.
Right. Yeah. And it's just like you're just the force multiplier of that, right? So you go from like, hey, I'll work out when I get the time, and yeah, you never get the time. Hey, I'll read that book when I get the time, and you never get the time, right? Like it's just,
It's always
but
something.
boom, here you are. You're opening up a 2 to 4 hour window of time that you never had, and now you're just piling that stuff up. Now you're piling up the workouts, you're piling up
Yeah.
the books that you're reading, you're piling up the progress on these projects that you want to get done or your goals, whatever. So
Well, and I heard you earlier say you said 4 a.m., which is funny to me because, like I said, I'm 3 months into this, and I was just talking to Norma the other night in bed, going, you know, this newfound 2 to 2.5 hours of free time that I now read and work out and whatnot. Um, I sometimes I feel like it's not enough, and I literally just said to her the other day, should I make it 4:15 instead of 4:30 or 4 o'clock instead of 4:30? Like, what would I do if I gave myself 30 more minutes? So when you said 4
right.
a.m., I kind of triggered that competitive juice in my brain going, man, well, if he's doing it, why can't I? Like, why can't I do that?
Yeah.
So, because there's a lot of things that I still don't get to that I have to find time for or schedule in. And, like today I did a ton of QuickBooks work, and it's like, man, it's 11 a.m. There's other stuff I should be doing that's out away from the desk. But I knew I had to get it done. I had to get done, today. So now it's like, man, if I just had 30 more minutes and, I scheduled that in, and, what would that look like? And that's not the only thing. It's a bunch of stuff. So I literally just had that thought within this past week that maybe I should bump that up. So that's funny you brought that up.
Yeah, and that's a good starting point, right? Like if you just ask yourself the question, like, what would you do if you had more time? well, I would read more. Well, okay, start getting up an hour earlier and read for an hour a day, or get up a half hour earlier. Like I get like some people are like, well, I got to get up and leave for work at 6 a.m. I'm gonna tell you, when I was running marathons, I had to be to work at 6 a.m., right?
Yeah.
And you've run marathons, so like you've got a 4 month window where if you're doing it right, you're training, you're working up, and that takes a lot of time in your week. But man, I remember at those times, back then that I was getting up at 4 a.m. then to spend my first hour running so I could get squared away and hit the road by 5, like whatever. Like I was whatever. I had to get it done. Like,
Yeah.
the marathon date wasn't going to wait for me, like, and it didn't care. I had to get up at 6 a.m. And I knew by the time I got home, cause I worked from 6 to 3 shifts back then. And, by the time I got home with traffic, I was on the road for 2 hours. So, I wasn't running home like ready to run out the door to get a 4 to 7 mile run in, So I was like, man, I'll do it in the morning. I remember those summer days, man. That's where I first learned that when it's humid in the summer, it's
Yeah.
just as humid at 3 a.m. as it is at 5 a.m. And it sucks, man. You walk
Yeah.
out this
But that,
door, it's pitch dark, and the humidity just slaps you in the face. And you got to realize you got to run 7 miles. You do it anyway, right? And
well,
you
yeah,
feel awesome.
but like you said, the humidity smack you in the face no matter what, but the sun's not beating down on you.
Mm-hmm,
Right?
mm-hmm.
Those cars, again, I was just talking to somebody about this earlier today. When I run at 6 a.m., because like I said, by the time I'm at my desk, I'd say I hit the road by about 6 a.m. At 6 a.m., I think I pass maybe 5, 6 cars by the time I finish my run. 5 or 6 cars. If I used to run at lunchtime in the Houston humidity, in the sun beating down on you, and it's, man, it was brutal.
That
Um,
sucks. Yeah, that
and
sucks.
and listen, the heat and the humidity was not the problem. The problem was that little girl on her cell phone that was going to run you over. That's the problem.
Yeah,
So avoiding
yeah.
stuff like that. That sounds odd, I'm sure, to people listening to this, but um, I feel safer at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning than I do it at noon, as it pertains to running on the road.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I agree. I felt the same way. Like when I was doing those long runs where I couldn't just run around my neighborhood to get, 4 miles in, and I had to run, I'm doing a 14-mile stretch. So I got to run 7 miles one way and 7 miles back. I did those runs Sunday morning because there was no one on the road Sunday morning
yeah,
at 6 a.m., whatever the face is. So you're right about that. Because even like in my area, we've got a couple of schools here. So same thing, like the teenager that's texting and driving or TikTok
yeah,
dancing and just clips me from behind for whatever reason is a fear in my life now. It's so
yeah.
it's I don't know. But so you were really short and sweet, with your background. So let's rewind a little bit. So where'd you grow up? How'd you land in the Marine Corps?
So I'm from small town Indiana, southern Indiana to be exact. If you look at a map, the closest thing you're going to find is a city called Evansville, which is down south on the southwestern corner of Indiana. I'm from a little town called Hopstadt, just about 20 miles north of that. Podunk nowhere. But grew up, no diversity where I grew up. High school, none of that stuff. So um, but no, like as I got older, I saw the same stuff over and over again, right? It was these guys, they go to trade school and become an electrician, or they'd go to heating and air conditioning school and become a heating and AC guy. And um, fast forward to graduating high school, I actually went to college to play baseball um, at the little local Division II school in Evansville, actually. Um, and I went to work, running parts for a heating and air conditioning company because that's what, I have some family members that do that stuff. And, it was the path that was foretold for me to go down. And, um, man, I hated it. I hated it. The baseball stuff wasn't working out the way I thought it was going to because, just like any other kid, I was probably smarter at baseball than I had talent, which kind of lured me into thinking I was better than I was. I go off to college to play baseball because I'm this, quote unquote, big baseball player, and in reality smacked me in the face. So I tried out for that team, and like I said, it just, in your head, you're going to go to college and you're going to be successful and you're going to hit 400 and you're going to be an All-American and you're going to go to the Major League Baseball. And I held that dream until I went a freshman in college to go play. And like I said, reality just smacks you in the face, and you find out that, wow, there are kids that are bigger and better than me. This is weird. So, like I said, baseball didn't work out for me, and that left me literally stuck running parts for heating and air conditioning. And so the combination of the two things, having a job that I wasn't really passionate about, and having school that I was not good at and didn't like, but only did because I wanted to play ball, which then wasn't working out. I quickly realized I needed something different. And I didn't know what that meant. I knew that wasn't it. So, fast forward a little bit, I had a buddy that joined the Marine Corps on his own straight out of high school, and I kept in communication with him, and he was loving it. And then, one crazy night I come home, and, I'm talking about my buddy Scott, and my dad looks at me, and my dad was an Army vet, actually got drafted and ended up enlisting, and, a whole story. But my dad had a pretty negative military experience, and he never really talked about it much. Not that there was any major details there that led to that. He just didn't. He was, by the time I was born, by the time I was old enough to have conversations with him about it, he was 20, 25 years removed from the military. So it really was a non-topic in our house. So, talking to Scott, I brought Scott's conversation home with me for dinner one night, and I'm talking to him about it, and Scott's having fun, and Scott's doing this and whatever. And he quite literally looked at me, and he's like, well, you will not join the military. And he said it just like that. And for those of you that don't know me, there's one way to get me to do something. That's to tell me I can't. So I quite literally called Scott's mom, and I said, hey, I need the recruiter's name, who I knew. I just didn't have his contact information. And I called him. His name was Gunnery Sergeant Williams. I called him and I said, hey, Gunny, you put Scott in the Marine Corps. What do I got to do? I was at MEPS within 2 days, and I had signed contracts within 3, and come home, and I slapped a piece of paper on the table and said, guess what, Dad? Go in the Marine Corps. Left a month later. So again,
left a month later.
Yeah. So even then, I didn't know what I was doing, so, kind of mixing stories now. So now my son's going to the Marine Corps. I've got the knowledge now where, he's doing it a lot different. He's doing it a lot better. He's doing it with a plan. But back then it was, man, I didn't know what I was doing. So, in retrospect though, I look back and it's like, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't want to go to college anymore. There was a lot I didn't want, right? I didn't want to do this, didn't want to do that. And I didn't know what I wanted. So the military for me, if nothing else, other than some great experiences and some great travel and met some great people like yourself, for me, and I realized this about a year in, I think, it just punted my next life major decision down the road for me 4 years, right? I had 4 more years to figure it out while I was doing something productive and doing something, by serving the country and all that stuff. Because I didn't know. And listen, I talk to my son about it all the time. And I think this kind of led to his decision to go into, who knows what they want to do for the rest of their life by the time they're 18. I think that's crazy. I think it's crazy that we expect these kids to just know that, go to college, get $200,000+ in debt going to college for something that they may or may not even like or want to do. I just think that's crazy. So for me, the military and I supported my son's decision to do it for that reason. He gets to push that decision off into his life. He'll be 22 at the end of, or 23. I'm sorry. He's got a 5-year enlistment. He'll be 23 at the time he would potentially get out if he doesn't reenlist. And I just think he's going to be of a better mindset at that point. He'll go through the Marine Corps. He'll get that discipline that you and I got. And I think he'll just be in a better place mentally to make his next real life decision. So for me, that's kind of what it was. It was punting the situation down the road because I was, again, I wouldn't say I was miserable. I didn't have a bad childhood, um, but I didn't want to fall into the norm. I didn't want to be a sheep and be a tradesman for electrician or heating and air or whatever. I didn't want to follow that same path that everybody else followed. I wanted something different.
Yeah, it's that hometown thing, right? Like similarly, right here where I'm at, when I was growing up, I always joke and call it Mayberry, and then people were like, "Where are you from?" I'm from Mayberry. You ever seen Andy Griffith Show? Like that's where I grew up. Everybody knew who my parents were. I couldn't get away with anything, like and everybody knew everybody. Like that's where I grew up. And there's this, so if I have the opportunity to talk to people about like that are here, I say, I just say, get out of here. Now, I'm not saying no, don't come back, but you got to go see what else is going on outside of town limits, and not just like what you do on the weekends and what parties you're
Yeah.
trying to find. I'm talking like go have some life experience, and in your case, like Alex is going to go get 5 years of really solid just life experience that's going to just, if nothing else, give him clarity on what he likes and doesn't like, right? About the real world, like not being like, a dependent of yours, and meeting a bunch of different people. And like, even in the, like, look, we met a lot of great people in the Marines, but you meet all walks of life. And you also, and that's where some people like come to me and they'll go, "Hey, don't you think everyone should?" Because they talk about our stories, right? Some similar stories, success stories from military, and they go, "I think every kid should have to go in the military." And I go, "Hey, look, man, I met people that volunteered to be there and completely screwed up their lives because they still made bad choices, right? Like, so
Yeah.
don't think that just joining the military is the end all be all. Now, it for me was a transition point to start making better decisions, right? It was like, okay, I'm going to start making better decisions for myself, and the first decision I'm going to make on that path is I'm joining the Marine Corps, and the rest was history from there. So, if you go into the military thinking like it's just going to solve all your problems, like it's actually going to
Yeah. I mean,
it's gonna deal you something, because if you think you can go in there and get away with crap, you can't. You actually sacrifice, I think, more of your freedoms, to go, serve the land of the free. Like you will be where they tell you to be. You will dress how they tell you to dress. You will cut your hair the way, like all these freedoms of living kind of free, those go away. So if you're not ready for that, but at the same
well,
time, like there is a ton of opportunity. If you just get in there and look for the
well, yeah.
opportunity and give it everything, man, you will come out with so much. But don't go in there fighting the system, man. Go in there and get the most out of it.
Well, I think it was, and I know you love Jocko. I've read a few of his books, but definitely don't follow him like you do. And I think you've done some of the musters and whatnot. But I think it was Jocko that said the path to freedom is through discipline, right? And so to your point, yeah, while you're enlisted, especially in the younger years, right, when you're a non-NCO and whatever, yeah, you give up some of your freedom, sort of, but it's instilling that base level of discipline that you're going to need for the rest of your life to start building upon, and in that discipline, as Jocko, puts it very well, um, that is the foundation in your path to freedom. So, 2 steps forward, a million and 5 steps, or 2 steps back and a million and 5 steps forward. So, I guess you and I probably slightly disagree on the military thing, because I am one of those people that think that maybe all people should go in, and I'm not saying they should do 4 or 6 or anything crazy like that, but I think everybody should go through boot camp and at least be a reservist for a year or two or something. But like, I just think so many kids these days are coddled. Even listen, my kids are spoiled rotten, spoiled rotten. Okay, I'll say it 1,000 times, spoiled rotten. I do feel to a small degree that I did my kids a complete disservice, right? Um, you know, man, I was 20, I guess 21 when Alex was born. I was a kid myself. I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea
Hmm.
what I was doing. So, just like everything else, and especially being in the Marine Corps, when you did it, you just adapt and overcome and you figure it out. Um,
Yeah.
so we made a number of mistakes along the way. And like I said, I tried to, that same old parent thing that everybody talks about, I'm going to give my kids everything they didn't have. Well, why? Right? I ask myself that now. Why did I do that? Because the stuff I didn't have is what gave me the grit to go out and get what I got now.
Right.
Right?
It's necessity, right?
Yeah.
Necessity drives you. It's funny, Flaubby, our buddy Flaubby, he's now gone off to he's a fellow sergeant with us when we EAS'd out. But he went on to get his doctorate. He's a physical therapist, right? And
Yeah.
which it's funny, you look back 20 years ago and we go, hey man, you tell your 20-year old self, go, hey, you see that bumpkin over there, gives you a hard time. Yeah, he's going to go be a doctor. You'd be like, what? What? Him?
I'd call
But
you
it's
crazy,
all,
just like getting up at 4 a.m.
yeah, exactly. But it's awesome. But he hit me with that, and we were talking about it yesterday. He said, "Man, how do you this very topic?" He was because he's going to have his first and this summer, and he was like, "How do you like?" He was just calling out this necessity. He's like, now we have these things, but how do we instill drive in our kids? With this whole, we give them everything you didn't have. And I told him, I said, look, because I've got three, you've got two, you plus three more now. But the way I kind of hit that one was like, look, I was like, here's the way I'm thinking about it is, okay, we came this far because we wanted this, but the disservice that we're actually doing is letting our kids think this is it, right? Like, hey, my new mindset that I'm bringing to my family culture is, yeah, guys, we've come this far. Me and Jody have been married 20 years, so it's like, hey, we've gotten us this far, we've come this far, but this isn't it. We're going to the next level. Like this is the new baseline, where we're going to go from here. Like, because that's it. Like, I didn't come up with it. I came up blue collar, grew up in my grandmother's attic, broken home, blah blah blah. But I'm not approaching my kids with this mindset anymore. It's like, hey, we made it. No, son, this is where we're at. We're going to the next level. We're not accepting this new baseline. This is our new mediocrity. We need to keep building because you need to, the things that you don't have today that we're going to build towards. Like, we're going to keep building this legacy, beyond this. And so, I'm just kind of trying to go say this isn't where we stop. As a family, we're going to keep growing, and keep driving farther. We're not just stopping right here. Because I think that's it. You have to have that necessity. Like, you need, you got to know what you want that's out there ahead of you. And you also got to know what you don't want, like, and let those things pull and push you respectively to take you there. So, it's something that, sure, and you just don't want to coddle your kids and give them everything. The biggest problem that we do as parents is we protect our kids from everything, so they
Oh
have
yeah.
no scars, they have no calluses, whether on their bodies or in their minds, haven't dealt with difficult situations. Because what happens today, your 9-year-old is dealing with a bully at school. What mom calls the principal, mom calls the parent, mom goes and just handles it.
Solves the problem. Yeah.
Yeah, and what you should really be doing is coaching your kid to how to deal with it. Because guess what, mommy, daddy, you're not going to be around forever. And when they're 22, they're still going to be faced with bullies. And when they're 28, and when you're dead and gone and they're 45, like, they're still going to be faced with these difficult people. So they need to be, while they're in the safe space of of the environment you're providing them, now's the time to let them go feel some pain, and get prepared for this stuff, because it's life. You can't protect them from life.
No, you can't. And listen, everything. I hate. It's like the participation trophy stuff in youth sports, right? You and I have both been involved in youth sports for a number of years now. It's like the participation trophy. Like I've never really agreed with that, for the sole fact that everything in your life is going to be a competition. You're going to go up in a job interview for a position that you really, really want, it's not like you're the only person going for that, right? Like you're competing with other people for that job. So everything in life is a competition. Like in my case today, you know, I'm gonna go find a house today or tomorrow. Like I found one this morning that I really like that I want to look into. I'm not the only one looking at that house. It's going to be a competition. I'm going to have to either, if I decide to pursue it, I'm either going to have to win that battle or I'm going to lose the battle. And I think the way we bring these kids up today is like we're not preparing them for that. It's like, well, my mom would have given me that. Why can't I just have it? Like, no, go fight for it. Like if that's what you want, go get it.
Yeah, it's to their own demise, and there's a great book, The
Yeah.
Coddling of the American Mind, that kind of really explains this whole problem that we all feel. I think in at least American culture today around this entitlement thought of today's young people and stuff like that. And look, it's our fault. It's our fault as parents because we're as wealthy as we've ever been in humanity at this point. So the comfort zone is wide and vast and easy to be in these days. And so, we're doing just this tremendous disservice, by coddling these kids, and it turns into adults. It turns into high schoolers that throw temper tantrums like you would see and imagine of a 3-year-old, because they're not getting their way. Why? Because they've always gotten their way. And when they weren't getting the way they solved that problem was by throwing a temper tantrum until, mom or dad couldn't tolerate seeing their kid do that anymore. So, and that just becomes their blueprint for life, and it's, you gotta let your kids feel some pain, man. I'm not saying go hurt them. I'm not saying that at all, but you can't protect them. That's the saying. It's like, what is it? You don't prepare the road for the child. You prepare your child for the road.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. I hope we get
so
back to that because, and again, just so we're all clear, by no means am I a perfect parent. Um, I have
no one
failed at
is.
every one of these
No one is.
conversations. So
Yeah, absolutely. And but they're conversations you got to have, and you got to learn from them, and even have some humility and go back to your kid like, you know what, last night I yelled at you and I could have handled that better, so let's talk about it now, like, just because even then, like, setting that example just of admitting your mistakes, right? Like, just, I think even as adult, like, there's a lot of adults that haven't even matured enough, in life, and they've got kids, and
yeah.
they're just passing some serious bad habits down. And it's easy to do it. Again, that comfort zone is vast and wide these days, so it's easy to do it. But so beyond the Marine Corps, you hopped in this life of entrepreneurialism.
So right out of the Marine Corps, I actually moved back to Indiana. Struggled beyond belief to find a job. I think I spent 6 or 8 months or so. And you talk about motivated and hustling, and I was going 3 and 4 interviews a week for months. And what I was running into back then, so this would have been 2002. Um, it was just, hey, you have no experience, sorry. Hey, you have no experience, sorry. And it's significantly different than what it is today. Today, military experience, again, this is my perception, military experience holds a lot of water now. Whereas I felt back then, anybody, or at least in Southern Indiana at the time, um, getting out of the Marine Corps, they looked at my 4 years of IT in the Marine Corps going, well, you don't have any corporate experience. Well, so what? A computer is a computer, whether it's in the military or it's sitting at your corporate office, right? So what's the difference? And so then this guy that I know, I won't mention any names, Dale. So this guy I know called me out of the blue one day and just asked me how it was going, kind of a just a check in. Hey man, how's things going? How what are you up to? And so I gave him the world's against me speech, I'm sure. And you asked me to open up my search, my job search to include DC, and I was quite literally in my Lumina, my Chevy Lumina, 24 hours later, driving to DC to start my job on Monday. So I was a contractor to Air National Guard right there in, I guess that's, I'm not sure if
Andrews,
that's
right?
actually in DC, Andrews Air Force Base, yeah. So I did that for about a year or so, and then again, this same crazy guy asked me about starting this IT company that he had tinkered around with while he was in California, and kind of reeled me into this concept of owning an IT company. So at that point, you and I started working 20-hour days. It seemed like every day for years, and the Corsica engine was created. I guess back then it was the WDIT engine
Yeah.
was created, and I mean that's when hard work and discipline kicked in. And so kind of back to the topic at hand here, the hours in a day thing. I think that's kind of in hindsight, we worked hours. I mean, we worked and worked and worked. But I think that's kind of where I fell off the wagon, because I was so stuck at working in the business that nothing else mattered. I let my, I mean, listen, Alex is 18, but for the first 10 years of his life, I mean, I felt like I was not there. We were always working. So, I stopped working out, I stopped reading, I stopped educating myself, and I was just fully immersed into creating. Well, again, you were creating the business. I was working in the business at the time. And I think, and again, listen, I really wouldn't change anything about my life. I think every brick that we laid back then had its purpose. But looking at how I spent my days, I was very unhealthy mentally. I was very unhealthy spiritually. I was very unhealthy, all of that. And I do wonder back, like, hey man, if I'd have known about this then, could I have done it better? And could we have built faster or better, or whatever? Um, because we did that for 18 years, and it wasn't until probably the second half that I really started to get back into re-educating myself. And I think that's probably when I stepped away from being in the business and started working on it with you, and reading the business books, and getting better at being a leader. The Marine Corps set a great foundation for being a leader, and being a sergeant in the Marine Corps was a great foundation for training people and guiding people and leading people. But like, call it what it is. We only did 4 years. I mean, it was a foundation. Like, it was
Mm-hmm.
by no means a successful path. So towards the second half of that run at Corsica, is when I really started to get back into the education and started to get back into reading. And again, even then, it was at a slow pace, like I'd mentioned before. I was reading a book every couple months, and it was slow. And again, hindsight's 2020. I'm listening to you read this book and that book and this book, and I would, man, I'd be at home tonight going, what in the world? How in the world is this guy doing all this stuff? And it was then that we started talking about this, and it was then I started to fail. And listen, I've tried the 5 a.m. Club, or again, I call it the 5 a.m. Club because that's the book I read by Robin Sharma, um, which is a fantastic book, by the way. Like I said, it's a fable, but he does a really good job of explaining the why. Um, but it was then though that I realized that I'm not doing something. So I wish I'd have known this stuff earlier. I wish I would have taken advantage of it. And like I said, I failed numerous times, and I forget where I picked this one up from, but I looked at failure back then as a huge negative. It was like,
Mm-hmm.
man, I failed. I'm a loser. What am I doing? And it took a lot of soul searching, and again, I have no clue what book I read it in, but in one of the books that I read, I think somebody said it just this plain, like, don't be scared to fail. Like, if you fail, you at least what doesn't work. And when I read that, I was like, man, I mean, how better can you say it?
Right.
Failure is learning what doesn't work, and that is
Right.
not failing. That is not failure. That's actually success in knowing what doesn't work. So, you know, I've probably had that in my little pocket for 6 or so years, and it was then that I realized that was okay. That for me, things started to take off. And then when we got rid of the time suck that was Corsica, because again, we worked had what seemed like 100 hours a day. um, when that started to fade and led me into the real estate career, um, that's when I feel like I hopped on a rocket and just took off, right? And and there's a million lessons that you kind of have to put on top of each other to get the full picture. But it's about that same time that I had people saying, "Oh, you're not with Corsica anymore, and what does that mean? And are you going to get a job?" And you know all that kind of pressure that I had to come back and just say to myself, like, this is all okay, and I don't need people to be okay with my plan, right? I don't need anybody's approval. I don't need to fit into your mold, right? Quick side story. We went and again, so we're in the real estate space, and I guess this kind of merged too. We're starting to get into the short term rental game. We're in the process of converting a couple what used to be long term rentals into Airbnb and Verbo short term rentals. But in that transition within the last since November, we went to go buy a house in Galveston that we knew could be uber successful if done right. And I go to get some money from a bank, and again, my options at the time were a little bit limited based on my current portfolio, and I was fighting a battle. The conversations I were having wasn't about a good solid business plan. It was about, where's your W-2 income?
Yeah.
And my response to him, kind of laughing, was like, well, I don't have a W-2 income anymore, but here is my income from my real estate portfolio. This is what I have by way of leverage. And that conversation would be 30 minutes of me explaining that portfolio. And the question that I would get after that was, well, where's your W-2 income?
Yeah.
And it was then that I realized that, man, what we're doing now is different, and it's not the accepted norm. And like I said, I think I fully learned that lesson within the last 6 months, which is, I don't need to fit in somebody else's mold. I don't need to do it the way it's been done for 100 years. I don't, not that I don't appreciate or care about that method. It doesn't work for me, right?
Right.
So you know again, trying to bring these topics together now. When I got back into real estate, that's when I started to free up my, what I would consider then my 9 to 5, to an extent that I could work on me and I could do what I wanted to do, and I could start waking up early and start reading my books again and start doing all these things that I have just neglected for years and years and years. So I feel healthier than I ever have. I feel smarter than I ever have. I feel accomplished more than I ever have. And again, this is you and I running a business for 18 years, being uber successful in
Right.
itself.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I feel better now than I ever have. And again, I can't even say that I understand why that is, because what you and I accomplished at Corsica was two kids from small town nowheres. Um, you know, that's unheard of.
And on our own, right? We started that with nothing, right? With the lint in our pockets,
Yeah,
and just will and determination to do it. I remember joking, at our first office or whatever, and we
your
were at
kitchen table.
Hardee's. We were, yeah, right. But we were joking like, hey, if the market demands us picking up sticks tomorrow, that's what we're going to do. Like, we were just going to, like, but there was no fail. Like hey, whatever we got to do, we're going to do. And here we even before selling the company and quadrupling it in 18 months, even before that, we were already 5 times that of the average, IT service provider. And I always say, like, and we weren't even trying, we didn't have a marketing engine. We didn't have a sales engine. We just were there, 2 Marines and other partners that brought value too. Like, just getting after it. Like, and all of us, the legacy, Corsica gang, us 4 original partners, we're all, the school of hard knocks, right? Like, none
Yeah,
of us were educated or anyone told us what to do. Like, we were all entrepreneurs, started with nothing other than the will to serve and go make some money,
yeah.
and
We
this
had an
is it,
MBA
right?
of figuring it out.
Yeah. And it's so, like, crazy, to just, man, just the depth of experience there. and what we all accomplished. And oh, by the way, though, right now, back maybe what I was talking about with the kid thing, like, well, now we're at a new level, right? And we're not done yet. None of us, right? None of us guys who sold that company and retired out, no one's kicked back. Like, no one's kicked back. We're all going like, what's next? I
Yeah.
mean, so what's your real estate, like portfolio up to now? Like, how many doors are you managing since
Well,
since
so
last
now
2 years?
we're up to 46 doors. We got a few single families. We've got a couple fourplexes. We've got an eightplex. We're in the so again, so we got 46 doors now. The majority of that is long-term rentals, which all that means for those that aren't real estate uh, uh, terminology-esque. We basically sign year-long leases or 2 years. Long-term is anything over a year. So we get in there, we renovate these places, we get these leases signed. They stay for a year and hopefully longer. We hope these guys stay forever and little turnover. But with COVID kicking in, it really threw a wrench in the game. There's the eviction moratorium that kicked in. I mean, God, that's been going for well over a year now. Still here in Houston, still, getting a court date for an eviction is just you ain't getting it. You're just not. Okay. So we're fighting that battle. We had what I would consider a major problem for a while. Not even in the beginning. It was more like 9 months to a year in, where people started to figure out that not that they didn't have to pay rent. They do have to pay rent, but they weren't, because your big stick, which was eviction, was unable to be used. Right.
they
So,
they learned that they could get away without paying rent, right? They could
well,
they could not pay rent. They could just not pay it, whether they had the means to
yeah,
or not.
yeah,
People learned that they could get away with not paying rent. There was no
correct.
consequence for not paying
It's
rent. Let's put it that way.
Well, what's funny is, because some of these are willing to have conversation with you, and some of them just aren't. Some of these are just what I would consider horrible people at this point. The ones that I'm willing to have a conversation with, and my thing was always simple, like, COVID is unprecedented. No one has been through this. In our lifetime at least, no one's been through this. So, trying to navigate these waters was new to all of us. So, I was that guy who used to be by the book, and if the lease says X, I want X, and there's no deviation, and 3 days is 3 days, and everything. And that's a late fee reference. I was by the book. And what I had found is that I needed to start deviating from the book, because if I didn't, I was going to start getting a lot of pushback. So then we started to work with these people. So the ones I ended up having conversations with, um, you know, they were smart, right? I don't want to say they figured out the game, but like, they realized that, we weren't going to be able to evict them. So those conversations turned into, well, what if I pay you a third now and a third here? And that translates into being a little bit later and later and later and later. And, it turned into a big problem, which I think we've got mostly fixed now, with the exception of a couple. So in that period of just unknown, we started looking at the short-term rentals. So now, of the 46 doors, we've got two actually active Airbnb, Verbo, whatever you want to call them, short-term rentals. We got one in Houston and one in Galveston now, with that beach house I was telling you earlier. I'm actively renovating. The one in Houston is actually a single house on a 4 single house complex. So we're converting the second house to an Airbnb as we speak. And then I have a lease that's about to expire in August of the third house, that I've already started having the conversations with that guy. We're actually going to move him into another unit and convert that into an Airbnb. And then 3 of the 4 units there will be short-term rentals. And then I'll have one guy there that I'll actually kind of, quote unquote, pay him to kind of look out for me and make sure the trash is cleaned up and make sure the dumpsters get put out on the roads and things like that. So we've really shifted our focus a little bit it's kind of the real estate way of saying diversification, right? Um, you know, we've looked at that. We've looked at Section 8. We've actually tried Section 8 a couple times just to see what that looked like, and just trying to figure out how we diversify within the real estate while protecting the cash flow, protecting the assets, et cetera. So, we're really excited about where we're at now. I'm really excited about where we're going. I got this vision in my head about taking over Galveston or San Padre or the Airbnb and short-term rental markets are really hot down here. So we're entertaining all of that stuff now.
So what you're saying is you're leading, or you get hit with these things and you just got to lead through it, right? Like just COVID hits, and you got now these policies getting created, that you got to adapt for. You got,
Yeah.
and you just got to lead, man. So what's like some of the leadership lessons that have served you, over the last 20 plus years that that you carry?
Ooh, leadership lessons that carry. I mean, listen, this kind of goes back to the whole "don't be scared to fail" thing. I mean, I think the biggest one, just general leadership thing, is don't be afraid to make a decision. Right? You might be wrong sometimes. You might be wrong a lot, but make a decision, roll with it, learn from it, adapt. Improvise the next time, or tweak it to, uh, you know, just make every decision the next time better. And I think in terms of leading my life, what I've reverted to now is, I try to be better today than I was yesterday, and that's it. That's the goal. Just be better today than I was yesterday, and I don't care what that means. That could be waking up 5 minutes earlier, or getting to my desk 2 minutes quicker than I did the day before, so I can get 2 extra minutes of reading. It doesn't matter how minor it is. My goal is just to be better today than it was yesterday. Um, but no, man. I mean, everything comes for me. As I've gotten older, everything comes back down to discipline, man. Just you gotta figure out what you want, set those goals, and have the discipline to stay on track.
Yeah, and it's not going to be comfortable. Like it's yes,
Oh no.
right? That's a part of it. Like yes, but man, once you get through that, it becomes easier. It's like you play these. Like you and I came up, we're '80s babies who played Super Mario Brothers, right? Mario, Super Mario, right? And like when you first played that game, just like I'll get my kids to play it every once in a while. And like, what do? They run into that stupid walking mushroom like 10, 50 freaking times. I'm like, just jump over it, and they can't because they've not figured it out. But they do. But back when we were kids, we are playing that, right? And you get through level one, and now you're on level two, and level two kicks your butt, and you got to get good at it. And before you know it, after practice and failing and dying, and starting over, and you're at level 8, and then one day you start at level 1, and it's easy peasy, man. Right?
Yeah.
It's just, and
You're
that
forced to
is
get better.
it's all things though, right? Like when you go through
Yeah.
those challenges and you fail and you learn and you fail and you learn, like you are progressing. And if you were to somehow, some way able to go back to ground zero and knowing what you know now and start again, like you'd plow right through it. You'd plow right through it because
Yeah.
you're just conditioned.
Well, I laugh. That's actually a great analogy. I laugh because I start to have these, my now adult son. I start to have these conversations with him, and I feel like sometimes it's like I don't even know how to say it. It's like a speed round where I'm throwing nuggets at him, like, hey man, do this, or don't do that, whatever. And sometimes I look at him and he's glazed over and he's just like, Dad. He's like, what are you're doing it again? And for me, it's like, like you said, I can't start over, but he is at level 1, right?
right.
So I'm trying to force feed him all these lessons learned, and sometimes I have to reel myself back in and tell myself even that if he doesn't fail, he won't appreciate the hustle. But man, it's so hard to watch these kids make the same mistakes that you made 20 years ago. So my joke with him is, man, just let me throw 100 of them at you, and if 5 of them sink in, at least you're better than I was, right? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Just
I
got to
like
coach
that.
them up. Just got to
Yeah.
coach them up. That's all you can do, man. And other than that, they got to learn and they got to know that you're there for them, and success or failure. And if nothing else, they got to learn that lesson. Like it's okay to fail. Go screw up, man. You're going to be all right. I got your back. Go try something new. Go screw up. Go fail. I've got you. I mean, because we went through it. Like the more you give them and hand them and whatever, it's not serving them.
No,
They've
it's
got to
not.
go earn it. They got to
No,
want
it's
it.
not.
You gotta get that necessity in them and get them setting their own goals, and they do, right? It comes with time. And what's unfortunate, I think, maybe especially like you and I, probably our type of personality is like we're impatient. Like we know all we know now, and we want our what my 12 and your how old is Alex now? 19, 20 or
18. He'll
18?
be
So he's still 18.
he'll be 19 this month actually.
So my 12-year-old, your 19-year-old, we're trying to go, hey, here's 40 years of knowledge. Take this, right? And you're,
Oh,
cram it in there and go. And that's our impatience, right? We just want to go, man, I got it all figured out. Like, you're trying to stuff their brains with it. And you really just got to coach them up and just kind of ask them questions, like guide them to the right thoughts by asking
I
them questions, not telling them what to do, but like, to really to kind of influence folks to like, no one wants to be told what to do. No one wants to be told what to do. Like you're saying, like with your father, ironically getting you to join the military by telling you not to, no one wants to be told what to do. So when you go to your kids and you're like, do this, do that, do that. What, I mean, their reaction is like, screw you. I'm not doing that. I'm going to do the
yeah.
exact opposite. But if you go to them and go, hey, what do you think about this? Or you kind of ask them questions and help guide their thinking and have a discourse where you build trust. And what I've learned is like, if you ask like future oriented conversations that help them think about these things and ask them how they think about them and guide and just kind of, if they say something stupid, you go, well, how do you know that's true? Right. If they say something, not true, you kind of go, well, how do you know that's true? And then you kind of make them kind of
Yeah.
fix themselves. But if you ask questions like, why did you do that? Or like, why questions imply judgment, right? So if you go to your kid, you go, why'd you do that? Well, now they're on the defensive, you're judging them or whatever. But as opposed to like going to them, if they did something and go, hey, you did X, Y, Z, and I asked you not to, like, what's up with that? Like, what's up? Like, and not a condescending tone, but hey, just what was going on with that? And have them answer a what question rather than a why question. It's weird, but it's just something I've learned, that helps kind of, like say, coach them up rather than kind of come as this dictator of, judgment and, condemnation, like,
But
which we have.
oh yeah, we do. But it goes with the question though, like because again, I have this conversation with him too. It's like, man, and I'll ask you the question, like if you could start over, just imagine knowing what you know now, and again, no one can do this, but knowing what you know now, just imagine what you could do with your life if you could, reset it, even if you backtracked 25 years, imagine what you could accomplish
Well,
knowing what you know.
yeah, and that's kind of what I was trying to say earlier. Like that's my perspective now is like, guys, we're here. This is our baseline, right?
Yeah.
And this is where we're going. Like, so to me, that is where I'm at. Like, I do know what I know now, but it's this isn't it. Like, there's more for us. We've got to go get it. And this is the baseline, and this is who we are. And this is, I brought us this far, so to speak. Me and your mother, we've brought you this far, but we're not done yet, and we're going to keep building from where we're at here. We're going to keep climbing. And now, I'm going to help you. We're going to help each other keep going. And maybe just showing the gratitude from where we were. Right, like your son is going to hear this. He should know it. Like, should know this story. Like, this is where we came from. We came from nothing, small town, nothing. And look at where we're at now. But we're not done yet. And look, we are you and I having sold the company, retired out. Like, we are starting from what we know now, right? Like, we're not starting
Yeah.
from zero. We're starting from experience at this point. And I got to tell you, feels good. Like, Feels way better than it felt back then, 20 years ago.
Well, I feel like I can be successful this time. It's weird how that changes, right?
Well, look, like I said, we're back playing level one again, with already, beaten level 8. So
Yeah, but you kind of made the comment earlier about the 4 original partners and whatnot. Like, you're right. None of us are sitting back doing nothing, I'll speak for both of us because I know you well enough. I don't have it in me to do it. I don't have it in me. It's funny. Like my mom's funny. I probably used the word once or twice to her. I don't know, and I was probably joking when I said it, but she's a very literal person. I made the comment that we were going to sell Corsica and I was going to retire, right? So retired at 41, was probably how I said it. So what does my mom go out and do? She goes out and tell all the family, "Oh, Duane retired at 41." I'm like, "Oh my God, mother!
here it
Oh my
comes.
God!" So even to this day, I still have to have those conversations. But like, I don't have that in me. Now do I do feel like I was tired of IT. I do felt like, you know, what I had to offer from the technical side, I felt like I was done with. And for me to stay in IT would have had to been a management role, but then you can manage in anything. And so, I really felt like it was a good time for me to make that transition. But like you said, you know, not having the quote unquote retire mentality, I was looking for that. You got to do something now. Now I lucked out because I actually got into real estate quite early, and reading Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad, years ago, just piqued the interest, and I just kept reading books on it until I fell in love with it. So, um, but no, it is starting over. You're right.
Right, starting from experience. And it's a lot of fun. I mean, it is like these new ventures. Since myself, it's just it's funner this time. Funner, is that a word? It's more fun this time, knowing what I know now, right? Like, the whole I wish I know what I knew now. Like, we got that right now. Like, we're building off where we got. Like, we got there. Now we're building off that. We're still going, man, and it's freaking feels great. And even like you said, even like that where we took Corsica, there's this picture. If you Google it, it's Google Superman Unchained, and there's a picture of like Superman like bursting all these chains off him. Like, that's kind of how I felt. Like, once I kind of got through the transition, because look, man, when you do something like for 20 years, like, you're not going to snap out of it. You're just not going to snap out of it, even in 6 months. And I talked to a guy that I got just recommended to that, like us, said a few years ago, sold a IT company, as CEO. And I was talking to him about getting into coaching and stuff, and because that's what he was done. And he goes, "Look, before you do anything, when did you get out?" And I have probably talked to him like 2 months after I got out of Corsica. He's like, "Okay, listen, before you do anything, like, don't do anything for 6 months." And I'll say, and I'm like, "No, man, no, I'm not doing that. I'm go, And but he was right, like, because you do have to kind of decompress a little bit. Like,
Oh yeah.
it was weird. I say, like, if I was done on a Friday, I was business as usual on Monday, just on different things, right? I did keep my routine. I did get up. I did come. We're already working from home, but I came back out and I just started working on the next thing, right? It was real estate projects and the coffee company and what became Lions Guide. Like, I kept doing it, but I'm just like building on, new projects, so.
Yeah. So like I said, I was already in real estate at the time. You know, but same thing, what my last day there, I bought plane tickets to go visit my mom, because she still lives in Southern Indiana. I bought plane tickets to go see her for a few days, and so I took a few days off and came back, like you said, that Monday, and I was just like, all right, this is it, this is what we're doing, and my then girlfriend at the time was like, well, what are we gonna do? And I'm looking at her going, I don't know yet, but there will be a plan. I will have it very quickly, and we will not only push forward, but we will run in one direction, and we'll go for it.
Yeah,
So
man.
it's been great.
So cool, man. Well, to button this up, just If you had to explain what makes you successful to someone that you were mentoring, what would you tell them?
Man, a bunch of one-worders, right? The discipline again, perseverance, define those clear goals and attack them. Just, the no quit attitude. It's the for me it's the goals and the discipline. And just go get what you want. Don't be a millennial, mentality of expect everybody to hand things out. Man, if you want something, just go grab it. Figure it out later. Just step off. How many people do we talk to about wanting to get in real estate and they stay on that ledge for years and years and years? And man, buy your first property. Like, let's go. Your best education is diving in and just learning. So and I guess that would be my advice, man. Just don't be afraid to fail. Trust me, you're going to fail, and that's okay, right? Just learn from it and go at it again. And I'm not saying go out and buy a bad property and lose money. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, there are going to be things that you run into as challenges that you're not going to get right, and you're just going to learn from them and keep going. But knowledge is power, my friend. I fought that for quite some time, getting back into my reading. But read, get educated, define your goals, have the discipline to pursue them, and roll.
Cool. Well, I think so. This is what's going to happen. This is the deal that you and I are going to have. Like from now on, when we start having these conversations, I'm going to go, hey, are you by a computer? And we're just going to hop on. So I have a feeling like we're going to do this again because we're going to be talking about something. I'm going to go, hey, man, hold on. Like, how much time you got? And we're going to hop on and just record it. So yeah,
I'm all for it, dude. Like as we got into all this, my mind's going 1,000 miles an hour on what we could possibly get into. And I actually started taking some notes just as like topics, if you will. And dude, I'm like 3 pages into this, and finally I just threw the notebook away. I'm like, all right, this is ridiculous. So no, this has been great, man. I had a blast. This is fun. I hope we can find another topic and do it again. That'd be fantastic.
Oh, I got topics for days, man. So we'll definitely do that. If anyone, so you talked about a lot of real estate, vet life, marine life. If anyone wanted to reach out to you to either network or ask more information, what's some ways that someone could get in contact with you?
Hey, man, I'm pretty easy. My email address, dwagner@3stripesmgmt.com, which is basically 3 Stripes Management from our sergeant days. The number 3 Stripes and the abbreviation mgmt.com. Or text me, man, 410-490-2261. I had a guy reach out to me just the other day that used to be a vendor of us at Corsica, and he asked me what I told him I wasn't with Corsica anymore. He's like, what are you doing now? And I told him. He's like, man, when can we talk? And I spent 2 hours on the phone with him yesterday.
Yeah.
It was awesome, man. I love it. I love talking about it. So I love helping people. Anybody that wants to talk and wants to learn, I'm willing to talk to. It's the ones that fight you and don't want to do the homework and don't want to put the work in. Those are the ones I feel like I don't have the time for. But if someone's really passionate and wants to know, and I'm an open book, man. I'm all ears. I'll talk to you for days.
Cool, man. Are you much on LinkedIn, Instagram, stuff like that?
Well, I do have Instagram and all that. I don't get on it very much because I find it to be a huge distraction for me. Very rarely am I on that stuff. I am on LinkedIn. Couldn't even tell you what my name
Just
is
search
on LinkedIn.
Duane Wagner.
Yeah, Duane Wagner. And that's Duane. Yeah, man. And listen, if they know you, obviously they know you from why they're getting your podcast and whatnot. So feel free to give out my information to anybody that's seeking it.
Cool, man. All right. Well, hey, thanks for coming on. And like I said, we're going to do it again.
Sounds good, man. Thank you. And hey, I feel like I'm the first Lions Guide graduate, by the way. I've been getting these lessons from you for 20 years.
I know.
So
Oh, that I don't know if I told you that, but the blood stripe shirt I did, I got, man,
yeah.
that thing's money. Yeah, you'll see
Well,
it. I'll send you
I don't
one.
know why I haven't got mine yet.
I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you.
Nah.
I'll send it to you.
Hey
I
man, I
was going to
appreciate.
wear it today, but I couldn't not wear it yesterday. Like yesterday was the first day I could wear it, and then today I'm like, man, I should not wore that, but I couldn't do it, man. I loved it. Like so, I'll get you the blood
No,
stripe shirt. It's she's money.
that's awesome, buddy. Hey man, I appreciate everything you do, man. You're an inspiration in yourself to me. So man, keep plugging along. Love you, brother.
All right, thanks for that, man. Love you too.
All right, brother.